So, my name is Devin Jones. You can find me on Twitter at hippie activist. That's hippie with a Y, activist on Twitter. And wasn't exactly prepared to do a YouTube video right now at the moment, but I feel this is an important topic of discussion that needed to be addressed right away. We have an extreme situation on our hands. Protesters at the North Dakota Access Pipeline have been deemed, or are under investigation, I should say, for being domestic terrorists. And I should say, as someone who has served in the military, as someone who has served in the active duty armed forces, that when you use the term domestic terrorist, that is a hard term to use. That is an extreme term to use. When you say domestic terrorist, that should set off red flags in anyone's mind, and particularly for someone who served in the armed forces. And to use that term for a group of people who are unarmed, and first of all, let me just say, these people, the indigenous people in this land, have already been killed off. If anyone is familiar with the Trail of Tears, a heck of a story to read. We killed them off, reduced the survivors to small reservations here and there, granted them fake peace treaties in the lands that we reduced them to. And now we're building pipelines through those lands, oil pipelines through the lands that we vowed to them in these fake peace treaties signed in the 1850s and 1860s respectively, that we would not mess with those lands. Now we're building pipelines through those lands, oil pipelines. That's bad enough. Now we're building oil pipelines through their drinking water, no less. The Owyhee River is the river that they rely on as a sub-civilization to rely. They rely on this for their drinking water. They rely on this for their sustenance. And now we're going to build pipelines underneath of this Lake Owyhee. But at any rate, so the level of disgust here is pretty high. So we've already disregarded, disrespected these fake peace treaties that we signed with them. And now, and once we piss them off to the degree where they finally stand up and they show up in droves and they fly signs saying water is life, and just a whole host of different messages being sent by these natives, these indigenous peoples. Now we are going to regard them as domestic terrorists. Mind you, there's no violence being propagated by the water protectors. None. No violence being propagated by them, no threats toward any governmental agency, no threats toward any particular culture or a subculture, or like I said, anyone. No threats being propagated toward anyone here. Okay? And now we're ready to refer to them as domestic terrorists. And here is the document. I'm about to read this document as it stands, and I'm reading from The Guardian. The headline is FBI Terrorism Task Force investigating Standing Rock activists. The FBI is now investigating these unarmed protesters as being domestic activists. This is, again, from The Guardian. I don't know. I don't know where this process is going to end. I don't know. This is disgusting to me. This is beyond my level of comprehension. That people that were already entitled to this land are going to be considered terrorists by standing up for this land after we've, like I said, after we've already reduced them to reservations and to small little specks on the map that they had already previously been entitled to. And then with these small specks of land, we are now going to call them terrorists for standing up for it and saying, okay, well, hold on. You're not only going to build a pipeline through this land, you're going to build it through our drinking water. And pipelines leak. Thousands of pipelines annually. Look up the statistics. Pipelines leak. There's no pipeline that does not leak. The statistics beg to differ. And now we're going to build it underneath of the drinking water of this civilization that we've already subjugated. Now, hold on. That's disgusting to me. But at any rate, this article by The Guardian detailing the issue says, and I quote, "The FBI is investigating political activists campaigning against the Dakota pipeline, diverting agents charged with preventing terrorist attacks to instead focus their attention on indigenous activists and environmentalists. The Guardian has established that multiple officers within the FBI Joint Terrorism Task Force have attempted to contact at least 3 people tied to the Standing Rock Water Protector movement," which is conveniently in quotation marks. Okay. Standing Rock Water Protector movement in North Dakota. The purpose of the officers' inquiries into Standing Rock and the scope of the task force's work remains unknown. Agency officials declined to comment, but the fact that the officers have even tried to communicate with activists is alarming to free speech experts who argue that anti-terrorism agents have no business scrutinizing protesters. Again, should I even make the First Amendment case here? Should I even mention the First Amendment? Is that even a necessary point to make here? That is an obvious point to beg at this point. And nonetheless, it remains the main issue. I'll continue to read for a moment. It says the idea that the government would attempt to construe this indigenous-led nonviolent movement into some kind of domestic terrorism investigation is unfathomable to me, said Lauren Reagan, a civil rights attorney who has provided legal support to demonstrators who were contacted by representatives of the FBI. It's outrageous, it's unwarranted, and it's unconstitutional. And unconstitutional is right. Again, we have no business whatsoever getting involved with the federal government into the business of people who are exercising their freedom of speech. And that's just on the First Amendment side of this case. The First Amendment side of this case is plaguing enough. It's disturbing enough. Yet, we have an entirely different scenario. A scenario that begs that, number one, this is a land that we subscribe to them after, like I said, killing off half of their population and designating them to small little reservations here and there and giving them fake peace treaties saying we would not mess with this land. And now we're building pipelines through this land. And worse than building pipelines through this land, we're going to drill pipelines and drill oil pipelines underneath of their drinking water. That's disgusting as it is. And when they stand up peacefully and fly signs and hold up signs saying water is life, to suggest that these peaceful protesters are now somehow domestic terrorists. According to The Guardian, they are being under investigation for being domestic terrorists. It's beyond me. It's disgusting. I don't know what we can do other than suggesting that everyone that gives a damn should go straight to the FBI website and register and sign forms, sign documents admitting um, admitting to being aiding and abetting these so-called terrorists. And I'll be the first. I will be the first to go to the FBI website and sign a form signing a confession form to being a sympathizer to these so-called domestic terrorists. This is absolutely despicable. It's repugnant, and I don't understand where the justification comes from. Like I said, we've already reduced these people to small little reservations. Then we sign fake peace treaties with them. Then we build pipelines through the lands that we guaranteed them was theirs. Now we're going to build pipelines through their drinking water. The drinking water that they survive on, the drinking water that. Okay, this is enough for me. I just wanted to let you know what was going on. I don't know what to do at this point. If you have any ideas, please let me know. I am at hippie activist. Hippie activist with a Y. Hippie with a Y. Activist on Twitter. Follow me for a constant stream of crazy socialist tweets. And please let me know of any ideas that you have on stopping this crazy scenario. This is colonialism at its worst. This is imperialism at its worst. This is their land in the first place. We've already trampled on it. We've already pissed upon the land, pissed upon the fake treaties that we gave them, and we are pissing on them yet again. And I personally don't know what to do. It's disgusting to me. It's repulsive. And you have a blessed day.